Yo, welcome to the newest episode of the week here. Actually got a guest joining me today, my buddy named Javier. We're actually going to do a revisit review on La Bamba. But seeing as how when we started talking about doing this, Little Richard kind of passed away. So
Yeah, he passed away.
it's crazy, man. It's kind of weird that happened at the same time, or it just so happened to, we talked about doing it, and then it's weird that when was it, Friday, I think?
Yesterday, maybe Friday. Yesterday early morning, possibly.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. I wanted to pick your brain because I know you're one of the biggest La Bamba fans that I know ever. So I wanted to pick your brain about the movie because we're going to do a quick rundown review on it. And then, before we get into that, though, just want to see what you thought about, Little Richard passing away.
I gotta say, I became more of his fan as I grew older. I didn't find out till later on that actually one of his songs was in the La Bamba movie, in the scene where Richie Valens is ironing his clothes. That Ready Teddy song is on, and I love 50s music, and Little Richard's music is all full of energy. It's just amazing how you can feel his energy through his music.
Yeah, for sure, without a doubt. That's something I was gonna say too. When the first song of his that I ever heard was that one I played in the intro. I kind of got it playing here in the background a little bit, but I saw, I think, Predator for the first time when I was a kid, and I was like probably 8 years old when Predator came out. And the scene where they're in the helicopter and they're going to their mission. Arnold Schwarzenegger's in the helicopter, Jesse the Body Ventura, and they're all just sitting there like ready to get down to business. And I think it's Jesse Ventura who hits play on the radio, and then Long Tall Sally comes on.
Oh yeah, his music is just so full of energy. It's amazing. And it's actually funny too, because I was reading something not too long ago about that. Back then, Richie Valens was known as the Little Richard of San Fernando Valley.
What? That's crazy.
Because of his, his similarities to Little Richard. His energy, and that's how, Richie Valens's manager Bob Keener, the one that found him. That's how he went to go check him out. Somebody told him, "Hey, there's a guy that sounds, kind of, like Little Richard, or his energy, So,
yeah,
and that's just something new that I just read up on, that part.
That's crazy, dude. I didn't know that.
And then, and when you think about it, some of his music, does, have some kind of energy like that in it.
Yeah, for sure. Just getting, we're not going to get too carried away, talking about it, but it's just, we wanted to bring it up because, that music is from that era, right?
Yeah, 50s.
Just in memoriam of him, I think it was, awesome, like the music and all the inspiration that dude obviously had on a lot of music afterwards,
Yeah.
And then just everything he had to deal with, being obviously, a black man in the 50s, dealing with civil rights, and then, most likely being gay. I know he went back and forth kind of about, coming out as being gay or not being gay or whatever, but
yeah,
dealing with all that stuff at that time, bro, is crazy, and obviously he influenced a ton of people. So I just wanted to give it a shout out, at the beginning. But getting into La Bamba, man, like you said, that's crazy. We're going to talk about the movie a little bit, talk about the artists, that the movie's based on. Like you said, they call them the Little Richard of San Fernando Valley. I had no idea about that. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's cool to know that. And then, so obviously, do you know like how old he was when he started, like, performing and stuff?
Well, I know, since junior high, he was always taking his guitar to school and that, and music has always been in him. He taught himself how to play a lot of instruments. Guitar. I think I read a saxophone, maybe piano, and then something I just barely knew. And you're probably like this since you're left-handed, but I didn't know he was left-handed.
Oh, word, that's crazy.
Yeah, and his love for the guitar was so big that he taught himself how to play. How to play right-handed.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. They say it's pretty hard. That's why I never learned, because most people say you have to learn like how to play right-handed because left-handed guitars are mad expensive or something like that. But yeah, that's crazy. I didn't know that. What do you think about the way like the movie started out, as far as showing his life, like living with his moms? They were obviously looked like they were working in fields and stuff and picking stuff. Is that like accurate? Do you think?
I mean, just like a lot of the movies that are based on real life, I think not all of it is always 100% accurate, but a lot of it is. If you research on it, compare different things you read up on, and even myself, visiting a lot of the sites where he was from or played at, a lot of it is accurate, as can be, because obviously they had to ask Richie Valentine's mom for permission on the movie back then before releasing it, and I think she passed maybe the same year or a year later after it was released. Yeah,
a year. Wow. Obviously, so yeah, the movie starts out, and I'm not gonna say spoilers because, bro, this movie's from 1987 or something.
we were like, we were 5-6 years old. Oh, 87. I thought it was 85 for some reason.
Yeah, but still, I mean, it's been out for like 30 years at least. So if y'all haven't seen it by now, it's like, I'm sorry, I can't give you really spoilers on this. The story's, the story's known. These were very famous individuals. So the movie, yeah, like it starts out, they're out in the fields, and then it seems like Richie was already like kind of playing music for people in the fields, and then his brother comes back, right, Bob?
Yeah, Bob.
And Bob seems like he's a dude that has had a harder life than Richie, maybe. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, he had problems with drugs, alcohol, trouble with the law. And, that's how it was portrayed in the movie. In real life, it was actually like that. But, for being, despite of the kind of life he lived when he was younger, he turned his life around in real life. He became, I think, some kind of counselor, to help people with drug problems and stuff like that and everything. And I probably live long life for me, thinking, despite maybe the damage he did to his body in his younger, years, but I think he got to live to be in his 80s. He passed away probably 2 years ago for some type of cancer.
So yeah, Bob comes back, right? He tells, Richie and his mom and family's like, yo, I got money now. I want y'all to come live with me. And do they move to LA at that time, or where did they move to?
No, they moved to Pacoima, which is to Pacoima, which is in the San Fernando Valley area.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, which is I think like 40 minutes from LA or something like that, or an hour. I was there last year, and it took me about 40 minutes to an hour drive. Not too far from there.
Oh wow. So then he could have. Yeah, so then about 40 minutes from LA. So then I wonder, like, at that time in the movie, it seems like they move there, and then he kind of starts like looking for gigs, right, or looking for bands to join.
Yeah, one of the bands he joined. I don't know if he joined other bands, but one of the bands he joined for sure, which is also in the movie and in real life, of the Silhouettes.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he joined the Silhouettes.
Which, just like in the movie, the lead singer left and he took the lead singer role.
So was the lead singer salty like that in real life? Did it like the way it made?
This book that I was reading on them mentioned, I don't know if they interviewed the guy that was the head of the Silhouettes or something, but it might have been a little jealousy there, but he doesn't speak too really bad on Richie. So some of that stuff might have been accurate.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, it made it seem right away like, so yeah, Richie, just seemed like he was super talented, right? Like he auditioned, it seemed like, with the Silhouettes, and when he auditions with them, he just kind of blows everyone away, and you can kind of see that the lead singer is jealous, right, from the Silhouettes.
Oh yeah,
in the movie, right? So he just seems like he's mad jealous, and then I think he tells his mom, I got into the band, and then we're gonna have our first gig, right? And I think they do their first gig, but Richie's just kind of like playing backup guitar, right? He doesn't let him sing.
Yeah, he's just letting him be a backup.
So yeah, he's just like being backup, and he don't let him sing. And then you could tell Richie's kind of upset, when he walks away, and he goes to ride home with his moms, and his mom's like, they don't know who they're messing with, right? Because she felt kind of bad for him because he didn't get to perform really.
Yeah, but his mom was a tough one. His mom was out there to help him, get his name out there too. So
from there, then getting back into like a little bit of the backstory, like with Bob and Rosita and his family. So was Richie with Rosita? Were they like dating, or was that just kind of like a movie?
See, that stuff I forget from what I remember. I don't know if they dated or Richie had liked her. I think they might have dated.
Got you. So yeah, that's one part I left out from like at the beginning. When they moved away from North California, I think it was, to move to San Fernando.
No, I thought they were in like Baja or.
Oh, were they south?
They were further south. Yeah, I would think you can tell by the type of the, where they were picking fruits and all that stuff or whatever they were.
Yeah, the land.
It looked further south, at least.
Okay, so then, yeah, so that part I kind of left out that Rosita was kind of like, they made it seem in the movie like they were dating, and then Bob showed up and kind of took her from his brother. So
yeah,
that's kind of shady.
And it's funny because as a kid watching it, 7 years old, 6 years old, I didn't, all this stuff made sense again more as I watched it as I got older, and I didn't know Richie had liked her or they dated or anything like that till I was already old,
Yeah. So yeah, that's one thing. Fast forwarding back to where we were a little bit, that it's kind of running in the movie, that you kind of see that relationship between Bob, Richie, Rosita. It's kind of complicated, I think, at first, because how they set it up at the beginning, that it made it seem like Richie was dating Rosita, and then she comes back to live with them too, and I think Bob ends up getting her pregnant, and he's like, what's that famous line he says?
Oh,
he says,
when she tells him, I'm pregnant. And, he tells her, what you want me to say? Takes a shot. Not my first, nor my last.
Yeah. It's like not for nothing, no other word to say, but that's such an asshole move, right? To say like, that's an asshole move to say to a girl that's basically threw her life to be with you, and and you react that way. So
yeah,
that's kind of like the behind the scenes of Richie Valence's life within the movie. You know what I mean? Because in the movie, obviously, they show like how he's trying to make it. Trying to be famous. So back to that, and how I think his mom said she got him like the American Legion, right?
Yeah.
To do his first show.
Yeah, and I think that American Legion is actually still open to this day. That's one place that I missed going to when I went there last year. But I mean to drive by, but it's still open at American Legion.
Wow.
Because because in real life, I think they played at that American Legion when he first started off. Just like in the movie. To do and American Legion still, I think. Not I think it is still open. Well, as of last year, it was.
Wow. So then, when he does this show at the American Legion, right, he kind of blows the doors off the joint, and when he does it, that's when that guy from do you remember the record label that he was with?
Oh, wait, that American Legion. Wait, but
or was it a different one then?
I thought
because in the movie,
I thought it was that bar scene. That's what they're talking about. The small.
Oh, you're right. He did play at a bar. You're right. He did play at a bar. My bad.
Because the other one was a school, I think.
So then he played when he played in the bar. That's when he got discovered, or was it? I thought it was when they did the gig at the American Legion.
Yeah, no. When he did the gig at that, I believe that was a school gym, or whatnot.
Oh, okay.
You're about to maybe want to rewatch that movie now because I know the American Legion was very small.
Gotcha.
But it was at that at the bigger gig, with the Silhouettes where he got discovered.
Got you. Okay. So then maybe in the movie it might be slightly different. That maybe there was. I remember there was a bar scene in the movie because he played country music, right?
Yeah, that's where Bob was doing the backup drums.
Yeah, Bob was doing the backup drums for him.
And he was doing a cover song that's actually Buddy Holly's song, "Oh Boy."
Yeah, that's right. So then Okay, so then yeah, in the movie, yeah, he did that, and then from that, I think his mom. That's when his mom. They make it seem like that's when his mom saw like how talented he was, and she wanted to put like more effort to get him more gigs and more exposure. And then yeah, they do that show at the gym, and then he gets discovered by Bob Keane, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So then, so from there, um, did he right away go to record his first song?
After that show, I think it took him to the studio to talk with him for, first,
Right.
I don't think they recorded right away to talk to him first about, leaving his band and being solo, and Richie, was going to walk away from it because he didn't want to just leave his band high and dry like that. But, Richie knew his family was more important than anything. And, they're very poor. So he had to make this move and leave his bandmates and, start recording on his own.
Man, that was like, not for nothing, and I know there's a little sidetrack to La Bamba review. We're doing, the revisit to that movie and, the artists behind that movie. But they make it seem like I've seen a couple biopics, like the James Brown movie, the Little Richard one I just saw recently too. They make it seem like a lot of stars back in the day, they made you drop your band, like they did not want you to record with your homies. They wanted you to use their studio recordings. I don't know why.
I don't want to say it's why, but maybe, money wise, because they felt like, we get somebody else to make the beats or play the instruments for you and or whatever, and signing them by their own was cheaper for them. But man, when you look back at the amount of money they got compared to now, what artists get now.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. I mean, I know a good amount about the music industry just because I kind of worked closely with it for a good amount of time. So I understand the way publishing works, the way ASCAP works, BMI, the way artists and producers get paid differently. So I could only imagine back then, like how much they were getting paid to now is probably way different, I mean, obviously for that times it was probably good, because stuff was a lot cheaper back then too. But yeah, there's no way to look at it now and think that that's fair. But getting back to the movie, so he records that first album with Bob Keane. Was it the Donna song or was it a different one?
I don't know if it was Come On Let's Go.
Oh, you're right.
If it was Come On Let's Go, yeah, that's probably one of my favorite ones from him.
I think you're right. I think it was Come On Let's Go. In the movie, I'm not sure in real life if that's what it was, but he records Come On Let's Go, and then I think that's the A side. On the B side, is that when he wanted to record Donna on the B side?
I think. Yeah, I don't know when he recorded Donna. I don't even wait. Did they even show them record Donna?
Yeah, they did.
I just remember him singing it on the payphone.
Yeah, he sang it for sure. He sang it on the payphone, but they show him recording in the studio, and I mean, well, in the movie, it seems like so after he records that, and then he kind of starts doing some shows. I think he ends up like going back to the school in the movie and picking up Donna. Yeah. But by then, it seems like all the kids in the high school know who he is. Like, he's famous, you know what I'm saying? And they start asking for his autograph and stuff. Dude, how old was he when that happened? Do you think it was like 17, 16?
16. At that time, he was 16. Yep. I think when he passed, he was either still 16 or he was 17. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, for someone like so young, dude, to have a story. So then... Yeah, Richie had a fear of flying, right? So I think after that, he was going to fly to Philadelphia to do American Bandstand.
Yeah, he had a fear of flying because as in the movie, he has nightmares of a plane crash outside of a playground. It looks like basketball court that and it falls on top of his is killing his best friend. So in real life that that happened. That day, he happened to be at his grandfather's funeral, and there was two airplanes collided above the playground of his school, and it it killed his best friend and might have injured other friends. But yeah, so he had fear of flying because of that.
Man, that's what I was gonna say. So, do you think, like in the movie, they definitely show that, right? Like he's having these nightmares of the midair collision. So, do you think that because that did happen and he saw it, you think that was like a premonition to him too, like that he was scared to fly because of that? Like he thought that's how he was gonna go.
I believe so. Yeah.
That's crazy, man. That's how it seemed to me as well. Like how he was given the premonitions, and in the movie they kind of show like, I think after he's starting to make a little bit of fame, and then he's doing music and stuff, and they show him and Bob that they take kind of like a ride to Tijuana, right? And that's where he sees like Medicine Man. I think he wakes up after getting the. I wonder if he really got that guitar tattooed on his arm.
I was looking for traces of it, and I don't know if I want to say I think he did. I'm not sure. Yeah, that's one I have to go back to. And
dude, it's natural.
I
mean?
Because I got that guitar tattooed on me. Obviously, you've seen it, and but
yeah,
I know a lot of them flyers, from back then were legit with the flying guitar on it. So I'm not sure if he got it tattooed on him or not. But
yeah,
with them going to he was Medicine Man, but I think he they were into that Santeria.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean,
yeah.
I'm not a big superstitious person, but sometimes it makes me wonder. That plane crash and everything.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, it definitely makes it seem like that too in the movie. They're kind of pushing that through every once in a while in the scenes, and they kind of make you think like, keep this in mind because this is going to end up happening. Kind of like foreshadowing, I guess.
Yeah,
you could say in the movie they're doing that, and when they do that, it's like, if you've never seen this before, and what's crazy is, I don't know if I've ever told you this, but this is one of like probably the third or fourth movies I ever saw in the theater. So I actually saw La Bamba when it came out when I was a kid. I went with my sister and we saw it.
Yeah, me too. That's the Dunes Theater in Zion, Illinois.
Oh yeah, that's right. It was playing there. I wonder why, dude. I wonder why it was why it called our attention so much. When I think about that,
I think it might have been our love for music because, just like my younger son, 15. I mean, obviously he's seen the movie a couple of years ago, and it's not because I told him, "Hey, this better be your favorite movie too." No, it was one of his favorite movies too, and he still plays it on his own, all the time. And then my little brother's son, my nephew, he's about 5 or 6 now, and I gave him a copy of that movie for his birthday about 2 or 3 years ago. And he was always playing it when he came over here to my mom's house, his grandma's house, and I always had my mom playing it for him. And he's a little entertainer himself. He's always trying to copy, Michael Jackson moves, dancing, music. So I think it's just the music that's in the movie that catches us at a young age. Well, the ones that have that music in our blood, that love it. I think that's what it is. And, it's an interesting story itself, too. But as a kid, you don't know that. But I think as a kid, you pay attention to the tunes first and later on fall in love with the history behind it. And that's definitely how I fell in love. I mean, you already know music because, I love music, but I fell in love with the history behind it. I love 50s and their history behind everything that happened outside of that movie, pertaining to La Bamba,
No, that's a great point that you made. It's just when you're younger, the things that call attention to you, and they end up sticking with you when you get older. And then when you get older and you learn the history behind those things, it just kind of cements the love for it a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because you get that nostalgia. And so like, I was saying, in the movie, he flies, back to Philadelphia, do American Bandstand, and that's kind of when he goes national, gets big. I think leading up to that's when he stopped thinking about the fear for flying. Once he saw that he was going to be able to be famous. I mean, and to me, that's like a question of more like a question of age, because he was so young. he probably was just like, you know what? When am I gonna have this opportunity? I'm so young. I want to be a star, and screw it. I'm gonna fly. I'm gonna fly to do American Bandstand because American Bandstand was like the big thing back then. And it's just crazy. From that point in the movie, it seems like, because honestly, and to be honest, the movie's not that long. I think it's only like an hour, maybe an hour and 40 minutes.
When there's so much history behind that movie, when you're like, wow,
Yeah.
that wasn't that long of a movie. And you know what though, they got to all the points though, and I mean to a lot of the main points, which is the movie was good. The movie was good.
Yeah.
And Go ahead. They couldn't have picked better actors to to play those parts. The guy who played Bob, Lieutenant Philip was Richie, and then Bob to play what's his name is right? Is it Isai Morales?
Yeah, it's Isai.
Yeah. So Richie's and Bob's role were great. And even I'm sure you haven't got there yet, but the person that played Buddy Holly, even though it was only for a little bit, and it was only one song on stage you heard him. He actually sang his song for the movie, and he played him in the movie. He kind of looked like Buddy Holly, and we recorded that song for the movie. The Crying, Waiting, Hoping. Yeah, his name is Marshall Crenshaw.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and he's played him in a lot of gigs. Well, back then he was obviously much younger, but he played a lot of his songs. So they couldn't have picked a better person to portray Buddy Holly and to actually play and sing the music for the movie. So Marshall Crenshaw's pretty good at the guitar too.
Yeah, well, that's where I was gonna go next, man. So it seems like pretty, shortly after that, is when I think Richie buys a house for his mom, and Bob sees everything that's going on, kind of feels neglected, and Richie's kind of doing shows, and I think right before he was about to drive out to do a show, I think on the road, is when him and Bob get into that fight, and Bob tears his necklace off, right?
Yes. Which
is a necklace that he feels like is giving him the protection from, flying and stuff that he got from the medicine man, the curandero. And so did that really happen, do you think? Like did they have beef like right before the last time that Bob saw Richie?
I do not recall.
That might have been more just movie stuff that they did trying to kind of dramatize it a little bit.
That might have been real because like I said, a lot of the stuff was they got based from what the family released to them. Bob in real life, I believe, was jealous of Richie at that time.
Yeah,
I'm sure growing up older, he probably had some kind of guilt.
Yeah,
but when I was reading up on him, he actually had Bob was supposed to join him, like in the movie when he asked him to join him back in Chicago.
Yeah, exactly.
He did ask him, in real life to join him, in Chicago on some of the tour dates.
Right.
It was, the whole they were doing like a Midwest tour, and the Midwest in those January and February are one of the coldest times.
Yeah, we live here, so it's bad, Well, that's a bad time of year.
Yeah.
So yeah, in the movie, I think that's what they call it, the Winter Dance Party Tour. I think was gonna be like Richie Valens, Buddy Holly, and the Big Bopper, right?
Yep.
Together.
Yeah, and I don't know if you knew this, but where we went for our senior prom for Waukegan High School, where Richie Valens, Buddy Holly, and Big Bopper, one of their last few places they played that year was in Kenosha, Wisconsin, at the Marina Shores.
Oh, no way.
That was part of the Winter Dance. Yeah, and I think, if I recall, I remember seeing some of their pictures in the hallway, but back then I didn't pay too much attention to it. But yeah, that was one of the places, and it makes sense, that the Marina Shores is a beautiful place, but they didn't play in that big. Yeah. Well, no, they did play in that big ballpark. They did.
So they played in the big ballroom there, where they. That was one of their last shows. That's crazy. I had no idea.
That was one of their few last shows.
So then the Winter Dance Sport Tour, that's where he calls Bob, he tells him to meet him out in Chicago, but then, the rest is history, right? So then, where were they flying to from there?
They were flying to Minnesota. So they
Okay.
were going up. Yeah, they were going up, from Iowa up to Minnesota. They were touring all the Midwest. In a really old broken down bus that had heater problems.
Yeah.
And that I think looking back at it, I don't even know why they stuck to that tour. Buddy Holly, was a big workaholic. If you read up on him, he was, he made so much music. He was always, just a workaholic. And
Yeah.
he was stubborn too. He wanted to, make sure he got to his other, to his next gig. And I think he was tired of the bus too having heater problems. That he booked that plane.
That whole coin flip, was that real too?
Yeah,
What?
yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah. That was, it was between Richie and one of Buddy Holly's bandmates.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, I think Richie I think he was fighting a cold too during that time.
Man, so yeah, so then obviously everyone, if you haven't seen the movie, sorry, this is spoilers. They don't make it. the plane crashes from flying from Iowa to Minnesota, right?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah, and it crashes, pretty quick, like a few minutes after takeoff. They say about 15 minutes, about 15 minutes after takeoff. But when I went to go visit the crash site and the dance, the surf ballroom where they last played at, it's about 10-15 minute drive from there. So so it crashed pretty quick.
So then that's obviously it's tragic because they were all pretty young, right? So I know like we said, Richie was like 17 maybe.
Yeah. And Buddy Holly I think was 23, and Big Bopper was the oldest one. He was up in his like a little bit after his mid 20s, probably 27, maybe 29. I'm not sure. 27.
Man, that's still young.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yep.
It's sad, man, to know like that. I understand why too, because at that time in that era, what was it like? What year was that? 1959, I think.
1959.
And it's known as the day the music died, right?
Correct.
It's just crazy. The only thing I can like kind of compare that to is, I think when I was driving once back with a buddy of mine, and we were driving back from I think Schaumburg or somewhere like that, and on the radio they announced that Leah had died in a plane crash. I don't know if you remember when Leah died.
Oh,
that's crazy. That's the only thing I could compare that, and it's not even the same. You can't, like, they're different types of music and everything, but to imagine the people living through that back in those days must have been crazy, because it was like 3 superstars, right?
Yeah. I mean, just, too, kind of like, even though I wasn't a fan, but I respect what he did as a person and outside of basketball. But, same way, Kobe Bryant, died with his family and others in there,
Yeah. One thing that to me is crazy that I don't like, kind of a reason I wanted to talk about it too, is like, for Latinos, that's like, to look at that story, dude, and that story took place back in those times. I wonder if people talk about that a lot. Like, did he face a lot of racism when he did his shows and stuff?
I don't know, but I think Donna's dad was in real life, really racist. I mean, come on. If it was hard for someone black in the 50s to be on top of rock and roll, or to do rock and roll, imagine a Latino,
Yeah, exactly. And that, like, just how much he accomplished, man, at such a young age. And for that should be an inspirational story, though, for Latinos, to be honest, that you can do anything, even though you're not, of a certain age, or if you have dreams, you can still pursue them.
It's crazy how much minorities were, like, in the 50s eras were so talented, like, Chuck Berry, another great one. Man, he was amazing.
Yeah, Chuck Berry. I think that's
there's a lot.
They do a little bit of story on Chuck Berry. I don't know if you ever seen Cadillac Records.
No.
So yeah, that movie, obviously, it's a lot about music, but yeah, they talk. Chuck Berry was one of the artists, I think, for that record label back in the day, and so was Etta James. I want to say they recorded the Rolling Stones too, and like I don't know if Mick Jagger said that or not when he met. I think he said he met Chuck Berry, and that was like one of his inspirations when he first got to the U.S. But yeah, obviously, dude, minorities, especially at that time, for to be as famous as they got, or sometimes they were being held back a little bit too. I think.
Oh yeah.
Because I think they used to cut like records back in those days. They would make like a version that would play on like mainstream radio, and then they would say like a version that would be playing on a minority radio station for some reason. And like and the money, like they would, like the minority artists wouldn't get the money from that, or they would get like a real tiny percentage of it. Like I think that's why like how we started out like talking about Little Richard a little bit, and I don't want to get too off topic, because we were talking about La Bamba, but I think that's one of the reasons he sang the way he did too, because he wanted to sing in a way that a different artist couldn't copy him, because he was the only one that could sing it that way. So I thought that was kind of crazy to learn that.
Yeah. Yeah, another artist I think from that movie that passed away later on in life in accident, but I think was in a car accident in Europe, if I remember correctly, was the guy that sings "Summertime Blues."
Oh.
Yeah, he passed away in real life.
Brian
Yeah,
Setzer?
see, I was about to say that name, but I wasn't sure if that was his name or the one that covered the song afterwards. You know what I mean? Because I forgot the name of the group that covered that song for the movie. But and that's another thing too. I think La Bamba has. I mean, obviously probably because I love that era of music, but I think La Bamba, because even sometimes when they choose other artists to cover, older songs. They don't always do great, but I think everybody that they chose to cover the songs for La Bamba soundtrack sounded a good, if not better. Even though I love the originals, because I do, I almost like some of the remakes better. Just because I'm more of an up tempo kind of guy, even though I like slow jams. But I will admit that the Crying, Waiting, Hoping from Buddy Holly, the original, I like it. But I love, the remake of, with Marshall Crenshaw that he did for the movie. Sounds a little bit more like, like got some, a little bit more energy in it.
Yeah, I got you. Oh, that's crazy,
But,
man. That's I think I was mentioning to you before we started talking about doing an episode that I didn't know that Carlos Santana did like original music for that movie.
I did. I think I just barely saw that this year or last year in the credits, and I'm like, what? And then, but it doesn't surprise me because Carlos Santana is, he's amazing, and with that guitar and everything, and that's another makes you proud to be Latino,
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So
another musician.
I think one more thing, before I get off track, even though it wasn't in a movie, but they started off in the winter party tour with Richie Valens and when they first came out was back then they were called Dion and the Belmonts, which is Dion, the one that sings The Wanderer and Runaround too. Because I got a replica poster from that day, and it says Dion and the Belmonts too, and I'm like, oh wow, I didn't know this dude started off with the tour with them, but obviously he wasn't that big yet. Dion, The Wanderer and Runaround 2 came out way after Richie and them passed away and stuff, and actually that winter dance tour continued even after they passed away without them. Dion was still doing it, and so were Buddy Holly's bandmates continue to do the tour.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
I mean, obviously, money back then was neted, so but I'm sure with sadness in their hearts they did it though, because when I read up on it, they were, it was it was tragic for them.
Yeah, man, I bet. It's just overall, like the movie itself is just kind of that whole rise and the tragic fall at the end. It's sad because that you just feel like those dudes had a whole life ahead of them.
Yeah, and, especially just I mean, Buddy Holly too, but it makes you wonder what else or how bigger Richie could have became, and
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely.
But some of their history, some of history still could be not forgotten by visiting those places are still still exist today. Clear Lake, Iowa. That's where the crash site and where the surf ballroom is still open. It's actually bands still play there, and during the day or when bands are not playing, they let people tour the place for a donation fee. And it's
Oh wow,
it's pretty cool that I think 80 or 90 some percent of it's still original, it's still intact.
that's awesome, man. So how did you feel? When you got to go like to, was it Pacoima
Oh
where he was at?
man, yeah, I want to go back there again, hopefully one day, because when I went there, it was kind of quick, because I knew it wasn't a great area, and I think at the time I was just having to fly in from LA, so I was hungry. I think I was dehydrated. I started to get a headache, and so I was trying to drive through some spots
Yeah.
quick, and I was trying to drive down the main street because before I went there, I was trying to research if they had any murals dedicated to him, and there's actually a street, and I forgot the name of the street, but this street has tons of murals painted on the side of businesses and apartments and stuff. From old famous people like Frida to whatever, and then I finally found the one with him with the four, Buddy Holly, Richie Valens, Big Bopper, and the pilot.
And the pilot.
So I pulled
Yeah.
over, to get a picture of it. It's pretty cool, and actually they did great work on that. Whoever painted that, but yeah, but there's a lot of places in Pacoima that are dedicated to Richie. He has his own park, a recreation center. Pacoima is not the best looking town. It's
Nah,
it's pretty
I bet.
sketchy, and I mean, I didn't see any like big like McDonald's signs or Walgreens signs. Like all the businesses look pretty run down, and yeah,
Oh wow.
but
Yo, people from Pacoima don't come after us because we're just telling the truth.
I mean, I would love to go there. I wish I could have found, because I like to do my research and I like to find places where people last live. But, and sometimes I wanted to drive by it and take a risk. But, to some point, I don't know, because I drove by some of the neighborhoods in Pacoima, and they look pretty rough, and but I pulled over at the recreational center to take pictures of the Richie Valens Park and inside the recreational place. They had a lot of his pictures and stuff like that. I left too, because I didn't want to stay around the area I didn't wasn't familiar. And then I think shortly after that we went to the San Fernando Valley to go visit his gravesite, which he's buried next to his mom.
My bad to interrupt you. So did they end up finding remains then?
Oh well, yeah. I mean, yeah. They found remains of all three of them. Their bodies were there. Yeah. Oh. So, yeah, San Fernando Valley is not too far from Pacoima, and that's where Richie Valens is buried at. And I think it's pretty cool that people still visit him to this day. Because when I was when I found his gravesite, there was people already visiting him there, and people getting there, and some people that I was talking to there, it was their like third or fourth time being there, and they're from Texas. They were from Texas, so they were in the area, and they stopped by.
No, that's cool. So then, would you say like out of the three, that three prominent artists, I guess, that were featured in the movie, I think it was Jackie Wilson also came out, and I think I've seen in the movie too. Do you think, safe to say for you, Richie Valens and maybe Buddy Holly were probably the two that you gravitate to more?
But even though Big Bopper was not as big as them two, I mean, the Chantilly Lace, speaks for itself. I love that song. I love that song.
Yeah.
To say if I love Richie more than Buddy or Buddy more than Richie, that's a hard one. But I probably listen to more Richie songs than Buddy, but I can't say which one I love more. Because they're both equally as talented. But Buddy might have more songs because obviously he was out before Richie ever was.
Yeah. Gotcha. So man, I wanted to say thank you for coming on, talking about this stuff with me. Is there anything else you wanted to mention about it, you think? Besides you're planning your next trip to Lubbock, Texas to go see where Buddy Holly's from?
Yeah, no, that's where our friend Breeze, Jose said that I should go to too. But hopefully I can find more than just his home or grave sites there about him. Hopefully, they got more stuff dedicated to him, which makes it more a little bit more interesting to visit. And, for
Yeah.
sure, I would love to go back to the surf ballroom one day. Hopefully, maybe this year or maybe when the kids are of age to have some drinks, and there's a cover band. Because every year, I wish I would have went last year. 'Cause I think last year was their 60th anniversary of their death. But
Oh
every
wow.
year they do they have bands doing tributes to them around their anniversary date of their death. And sometimes there's old famous people there from back in the day. Sometimes there's people playing their songs,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes they'll have some of their family members visiting there too. Yeah, because
Oh wow.
he has
That's
family
awesome,
members
man.
still alive too. Richie does. I think the others do too, but the ones that go more to those events is Richie's side of the family. But yeah, so I mean, if I want to mention anything, if people's love for music, do research on your artist, and you'd be amazed what you find in their background, and visiting some of these sites is priceless. I yeah, some of those memories are the best memories to me. Going to Pacoima, San Fernando Valley, going to that surf ballroom, even the Hollywood Star, seeing Richie Valens and Buddy Holly's Hollywood Star.
That's awesome, man. No, but I just want to say thanks again, man, Javier, for coming on. You guys check this episode out. This is revisiting La Bamba, and it's also Mother's Day, man. You want to say anything to Mom?
Well, my mom ain't probably gonna hear this. Hopefully see her next month. Happy Mother's Day, and it's both my parents' love for music is probably why it's super in my blood. So thank them for it.
Definitely, man. I gotta say that too. Shout out to moms. Happy Mother's Day. And yeah, to my wife too. Can't say that enough. Probably add a little extra Happy Mother's Day to the end of the episode there. But yeah, man, appreciate it, bro. This was awesome to do. Hopefully we can do it again. Maybe if you can, when you get some time, we could do one on Cadillac Records, man. Check it out.
Oh
you
yeah,
can do a review on that.
I gotta check it out. All right,
man. Appreciate it, bro. Thank you for coming on.
Right.
So that was my buddy Javier, my go-to guy for anything La Bamba. So I definitely had to get him on this episode. And just going to end this with a little shout out. So this is Mother's Day 2020. I'm here with my son, who obviously misses his mom, right? You miss mom? Say mama. Mama. Say mama. It's okay. But we want to say that we both really, really appreciate Mom, right? Today, because she means the world to us. For the longest time, we were waiting for you. You hear that? Yeah. Waiting for Abe to join us. And when he did, finally, we became the happiest people in the world, right? And we just want to say, we love you, Mom. Happy Mother's Day. You mean the world to us. To my beautiful wife, Erica. And Abe says, Happy Mother's Day too, Mom. This is Mother's Day episode. So we wanted to end the episode by saying, we love you and Happy Mother's Day. Right? All right. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there.
Hey, Richie, relax, man. Everything's cool. Besides, the sky belongs to the stars, right?